Hi everyone and welcome back to Say It In Swedish. I'm your host Joachim and welcome to our new series, Sweden's Crazy Kings. Actually, this guy in the intro, he was a crazy Dane and only Swedish king for about 1 year. So yeah, Danes. Vad ditt svenska svin, vad säger du? I'm sorry, he was a Dane and he was out of his mind. We're definitely covering Christian the Tyrant at some point, but today we're talking about this guy, Erik XIV. He was born on December 13th in 1533. He was born in Stockholm and on the old Stockholm castle, which sadly burned down in 1697 because the guard on fire duty got hungry, went to the kitchen for a snack, and didn't notice the fire in the attic. So it burned down. It's such a shame because this was a proper medieval castle with towers and everything, and today we just have a box from the 18th century instead. Got a bit sidetracked there, but Erik, who was born on this castle, 3 kronor, 3 crowns, which it's referred to as today. He was the son of Gustav Vasa, or Gustav I, which is sometimes seen as the father of modern Sweden. He was the first one that started the whole the kings should inherit the title, etc. Before that, the kings were chosen democratically. I mean, not by everyone, but the kings didn't inherit their title. So Gustav Vasa was the first king to decide this, and Erik was thus the first king to have his title inherited. This was a very talented prince. He was literate, he was proficient in several languages, he was excellent at math, history and astrology, he mastered knightly sports, he could play the lute, he could sing, and he could draw very well. Now the family, however, had a history of bad temper and suspicious family members, and I'm getting back to that very soon. Erik had 3 brothers, Johan, who became Johan III, Karl, who later became Karl IX, and Magnus, who was just Magnus. And Erik, he was the Duke of Kalmar, Kronoberg and Öland, and in Kalmar he held court and he had a nice harem. And when Gustav, the father, the king, he got old and sick, so Erik then prepared to take on the title as king, so he started to try to get engaged with some royal lady, European royal lady. For instance, he sent a letter, and I guess he sent a picture of him, a painting, to Queen Elizabeth I, the daughter of Henry VIII. But in the end, he just married his mistress instead, who wasn't royal at all. So Erik became Erik XIV finally in Uppsala in 1561, and he was the first king to use regalia. And these were inspired by the English regalia, you know, the crown and the apple, and these are still Sweden's regalia, but we don't really use them officially anymore because we haven't had a coronation for like 150 years. So yeah, they are beautiful, but we don't really use them. And one funny thing is that Erik XIV isn't Erik XIV because he and his brother Karl IX, they based their numerics on a history book full of fake kings. At this time there was a lot of historians, and they wanted to give Sweden an exciting history, so they made up a lot of things, and you know, the kings, they believed that. So now Erik was king of Sweden, and he was a suspicious one at that. He definitely wanted to limit his brother's power. They were dukes, and he made sure that a duke was beneath the king and their land as well, so they couldn't do what they wanted with the land. He went on to Estonia to expand Sweden, and this pissed Johan, his brother, off because he had his own mind set on, expanding his duchy in Finland to Estonia and so on. So he went to Poland and said, "Hey, I want some land," and he got some land, and this land was just outside King Erik's land, which pissed Erik off, and he called his brother a traitor, and he was a traitor, and he was going to be punished. So Johan was attacked in his castle in Åbo in Finland, and he was incarcerated, and he was sentenced to death, but he was never killed. He was just incarcerated, and Erik's business in Estonia kind of pissed Poland and Russia and Lübeck and Denmark off. So in the end we had the Nordic 7-year war to deal with. Since Erik was so suspicious, he kind of suspected that the nobility connected to Johan wasn't really happy about Johan's incarceration, and this resulted, of course, in several arrests and executions, which kind of angered the nobility further, of course. So in 1567 Erik turned up in Uppsala Castle, where there were a lot of prisoners, and the prisoners, they said to Erik, "Please forgive us," and Erik, he just didn't believe that. He thought these excuses were insincere, so he just stabbed someone brutally in the heart and told his guards, "Execute the other prisoners." And after he did that, he went away and ran out of the city and into the forest, and 10 days later they found the king being totally delusional and out of his mind. At this point a council had already taken over the rule of the kingdom, and they freed Johan, and Erik came back and asked God and the families of the murdered prisoners for forgiveness, and he was so delusional that at one point he thought that Johan was the king, and he wasn't. And just like that, he was his old self, and he said, "No, those prisoners, they were indeed going to be executed." So he went to the families and said, I want everything back that I gave to you as retribution. At this point Erik was quite unpopular, right? So when he married his wife or mistress once again, now he had a royal wedding, there was a rebellion, and this rebellion was led by the families of the murdered men and Johan, and Erik was finally, he gave up and he was imprisoned. Imprisoned kings, they were treated like nobility, so I don't think he had it very hard in his prison. But Johan the Third, he was also very suspicious, so he had instructed his guards to basically kill Erik if there was an attempt to free him. Eventually Erik died anyway, and it's been found out that he was in fact poisoned by arsenic, And although it's more likely that he got the poison in his body through his wine, he has gone to the history as the Swedish king that was killed by pea soup. This was everything that I had for you today. Thanks so much for watching, liking and subscribing. Please leave a comment below. And if you want to learn a bit of Swedish, stop by sayinswedish.com, where I've got free audio lessons for you, and see you in another video. Hej då!